If you've ever felt like a fraud after making a big accomplishment, maybe being successful on a project at work or getting a college degree, or if you have trouble accepting compliments from other people who are impressed with the work that you do, you may be suffering from the imposter syndrome. If so, it's a very uncomfortable way of living because no matter what you accomplish, how hard you try, not only will you feel that what you're doing isn't good enough, but you won't feel worthy of it, and you'll feel that somehow you're fooling other people and you're afraid of them finding out that you really just are an imposter. So stick around because we're going to talk more about this, but most importantly, what you can do to start making a difference in how you feel about yourself and your life. Now is always the time to start making positive changes in your life. Dr. Donna Leigh Bliss here. On this channel, I promote optimal mental health and well-being to help you become the best version of yourself. If there are topics that you would like me to make videos on, please let me know in the comments below. Today we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome. Many people talk about, despite being very smart, having degrees, accomplishing things that other people find impressive, that deep down inside, they feel like a fraud. So where does it come from? What can you do about it? So stick around because we're going to answer these questions and help you feel better about yourself and your life. So what is the imposter syndrome? In a nutshell, it's feeling like a fraud or a phony. Oftentimes people that are high achievers, very intelligent, maybe they have many degrees, or have accomplished a lot of impressive things like writing books, playing music, feel that deep down inside that they're a fraud, they're a phony, that somehow they don't deserve the praise that other people readily give them for their accomplishments. And so when people feel this way, there's an emptiness inside that no matter how hard they try or what they do, they just feel like they don't deserve the praise, that they're not worthy of it, that they're not good enough, and somehow that other people are going to find out. When I work with clients who talk about feeling like they're an imposter, they talk about this terror almost that they're going to be revealed, exposed to others for being a phony, that somehow behind their accomplishments, they're making it up. It's almost like there's somebody that's rich, but they believe their money is counterfeit. There's a high correlation between being feeling like an imposter and being a perfectionist, which has a lot to do with having this undefined standard of what you have to do to be good enough, being perfect, and measuring that against whatever you do and always coming up short. So what causes the imposter syndrome? Well, the thinking is that it has to do with personality traits, but also family backgrounds. Oftentimes people that feel like imposters talk about coming from families where high achieving was emphasized. You had to have straight A's, you had to be the best of the best. You always had to keep topping yourself. Yet at the same time, they were criticized for anything that they did wrong, so there's lots of nitpicking. And so there's something about this combination that leads to the development of these deep-seated beliefs of being a fraud, of being a phony. And no matter how hard you try or what you do, not only is not what you do good enough, but you don't feel good enough. Now, the imposter syndrome is not a psychiatric diagnosis such as anxiety or depression, but I will tell you from a clinical perspective, I've worked with many clients over the years that really suffer from the syndrome, that belief that they're a phony or a fraud. And I think what's so sad about it is that these people are very intelligent, very capable. They do things that many people can't do, but yet they're plagued with this feeling that they're fooling people and this fear they have that somehow they're going to be exposed. And so even though it's not an official psychiatric diagnosis, from a practical point of view, it's a real issue that people need help with. So how do you get over feeling like an imposter? Well, it's not really a very fair question because it's not something that you get over. It's not like an attitude you can just change and say, okay, well today I'm not going to feel like an imposter. Because part of the problem is that at the root of the syndrome are beliefs you learn growing up, usually in dysfunctional families of some sort, where you're not quite good enough, you don't measure up, and no matter what you accomplish, it isn't good enough. So the first part is just to understand that, but to understand how powerful beliefs are. Beliefs have a certain kind of energy to them. They have staying power. They're almost like a living entity. They can get people very aroused. Think about beliefs that people have about religion, politics, sporting events, sporting teams, where people get very excited and emotionally aroused because they believe something. And if something challenges their belief, people can get very upset and aroused to the point where people can be violent and try to hurt other people to defend their belief. So this inner belief of being a fraud is something that has a lot of energy that you can't just turn off and on. The key really though is learning how to slowly discharge some of that intense energy. So it isn't as strong, it's not as debilitating. And I have found when you work with people to help them do that, that slowly over time, they're able to start to let go of that belief a little bit and start to develop a new belief, one that is actually more accurate, where they feel good about their accomplishments. They take honest pride in getting a college degree or accomplishing something really good at work. But that's something that takes time because the initial beliefs that underlie feeling like an imposter developed over years. And so learning how to create new beliefs takes time too. So one of the most important ways to start to develop new beliefs and feel good about yourself is to ask for help. Now that's easier said than done, because if you're living in fear of being exposed as being a phony or a fraud, the last thing you're going to want to do is talk to somebody about it. So oftentimes for people, the best place to start is with a therapist. Therapists are non-judgmental. We work with people with these issues. So we take an objective point of view to help people feel better about themselves. And so for many people, that is probably the safest way for them to start exploring these issues. Another source of asking for help is a 12-step support group called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. And that group really starts to address a lot of the self-limiting core beliefs of not being good enough, not fitting in, being afraid of being abandoned, being overly judgmental on ourselves, that it helps people start to learn that those are learned behaviors that they got growing up in an alcoholic or dysfunctional home, and that in a supportive environment of other people that have had similar experiences, they can start to share more about these beliefs and again, discharge some of that intense energy that just is so limiting and start to develop new beliefs of feeling good about themselves. Of course, in my experience, I think the combination of the two can be very powerful. I work with many clients that have these kind of issues, and I know that therapy is really, really helpful. But I encourage my clients to get involved in ACA because there's nothing more healing than being able to share some of your vulnerabilities with other people who have the same vulnerabilities. So they're not going to judge you. They're going to be more accepting of you. And there's nothing nicer than when you start to feel that other people really care about you and they support you, even though they know the things that you feel insecure about. So you might want to check out ACA. I've had many clients tell me how it helps them, and they start to feel more and more confident about being able to accept their accomplishments, accept the good things they've done, being a college degree, having a doctorate, and feeling proud of it instead of feeling like a phony. It really does make a difference. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and inspiring in helping you start to feel better about yourself and start to really feel good about the things that you accomplish and being able to more and more let go of that persistent feeling of being a fraud or a phony. Please click on the subscribe button so you'll be notified when I release new videos that promote optimal mental health and well-being. I've included links for 2 other videos I think you'll find really helpful. I encourage you to check them out. And finally, remember, now is always the time to start making positive changes in your life. I'll see you next time.